Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about the new crystal ball of business. But forget glass and magic, this one is made of data. We are diving into data science, the incredible force that's literally changing how companies see and even shape their own future. Let's get into it. So, here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off by figuring out what this crystal ball really is. Then we'll get into its basic building blocks. We'll walk through the step-by-step process data scientists actually use, meet the experts behind the code, and see it all come to life. And finally, we'll talk about why this is so important for your future. All right, so what does this new crystal ball actually do? Well, it helps businesses answer their most important questions by turning, messy, confusing data patterns into clear strategies you can actually act on, which, of course, ultimately turns into profit. I mean, think about it for a second. How on earth does Netflix know exactly what show you're going to want to binge watch next? Or how does Amazon suggest a product you didn't even know you needed until that very moment? Spoiler alert, it is not a lucky guess. It's the result of a very specific and, let me tell you, an extremely valuable skill. That's right. The so-called magic behind all these predictions, it comes from people in what the Harvard Business Review famously called the sexiest job of the 21st century. Yup, we're talking about data scientists. And you know what? That prestige comes with a pretty serious paycheck. The median base salary for a data scientist in the US is over $126,000 a year. So why so much? It's simple, because the insights they find are worth millions, sometimes even billions, to the companies that hire them. So to really get how they create so much value, we've got to get the basics right. So let's pull back the curtain and break down the fundamental building blocks. You've got data, you've got information, and then you have the science that connects them. Okay, first things first, data and information are not the same thing. On the left, you see data. Think of it like a giant pile of Legos with no instructions, just raw, unorganized facts, like a list of 10,000 sales. On its own, it's pretty much just noise. But on the right, you get information. That's when the data has been processed into something useful, like a simple report that says, hey, sales are up 15%. And this is exactly where data science comes in. It's the bridge that turns all that raw data into valuable information. It's a field that mixes a few key things: programming, statistics, and, this is the most important part, deep business knowledge, all to solve real-world problems. Now, a lot of people get data science confused with statistics, but this table shows the really key differences. See, statistics traditionally looks at the past. It confirms what happened, usually with smaller data samples. Data science is way broader. It works with absolutely massive data sets to not just explain the past, but to actually predict what's going to happen next. It's the difference between looking in the rearview mirror and looking at a GPS for the road ahead. Okay, so this kind of prediction, it doesn't just happen by accident. There's a structured playbook that professionals follow to turn a business question into a working solution. Let's walk through that process. It all begins with a clear business problem, right? Something like, why are our customers leaving? And hey, which ones are most likely to leave next? That's step one. From there, you gather up all the right data. You build a model that can predict who's at risk, you test it like crazy to make sure it's accurate, and then you deploy it. You put that model right into the company's systems where it can start making a real impact. But get this. Here's a pretty wild statistic. A staggering 87%, 87 of data science projects never actually make it into production. They just fail. That number is huge, and it just begs the question, why? So what's going on? Is the tech just not good enough? Nope. The main reason isn't a lack of technical skill. It's a failure of process. A lot of the time, the project fails right at the start, at step one, defining the problem. If you're trying to solve the wrong business problem or just an unclear one, even the most brilliant model in the world is completely worthless. A strong process is absolutely everything. So, who are these people? Who are the wizards who can actually navigate this whole complex process? Let's talk about the unique individuals who basically act as translators between the language of data and the language of business decisions. Honestly, the best way to think about it is as a blend of skills. A true data scientist is a hybrid. They're part programmer, part statistician, and part business storyteller, all rolled into one person. And this slide just nails those three pillars. They need the statistics to understand why things happened. They need computer science skills to handle these massive data sets. And, this is critical, they need amazing communication skills to explain it all to a CEO. Because without all three, the insights are pretty much useless.
Now, people often mix up data scientists with data analysts, but the difference is really about strategy. As you can see here, an analyst usually focuses on the past, answering what happened. A data scientist is focused on the future, asking what will happen. This means an analyst's work might end up as a report, while a scientist's work becomes a predictive model that can shape a company's entire long-term strategy.
All right, that's enough theory. Let's see how this actually plays out in the real world with companies you definitely use every single day. Seriously, data science is a total game changer across the board. It's powering recommendations in e-commerce, it's detecting fraud in finance, managing inventory in retail, streamlining production and manufacturing, and optimizing delivery routes for logistics. It's the new engine of just about everything. We started with Netflix, and it's just the perfect example. See, they don't just use your data to suggest what to watch next. They analyze everything, what you watch, when you pause, what you rewatch, to make multi-million-dollar decisions about which original shows they should actually fund. Or think about Uber. Their entire business is data science. Optimizing routes to save fuel, predicting ETAs with that scary accuracy, and even positioning cars in areas where they predict a surge in demand, that is all data science at work, making the whole system incredibly efficient. And in retail, the impact is so tangible. According to McKinsey, just by predicting what customers will want more accurately, companies can cut their inventory costs by 5%, while increasing revenues by up to 3%. That is pure profit, driven entirely by data. So, we've seen the what, the how, and the who. Now let's get to the most important part. Why this matters for your future career, no matter what part of the business world you end up in. This quote just perfectly captures the modern business world. Every company is drowning in data, but starving for insights. The real challenge, and where the real value is in finding people who can turn that flood of data into clear, powerful actions. So here's the final thought to leave you with. The crystal ball for business? It's not a myth anymore. It's real, and it's built from data. So the big question for your career is this: will you be the one analyzing the data? Or will your job be analyzed by it? Thanks for watching.